Give me a little intro there, Gomer.
There's no turning back now.
Let's put on the show.
You're listening to the Station 71 podcast. My name is Mario, and this week I'm joined by my co-hosts,
Beth
and Brian.
And Kirsten will be joining us at some point. So we got some news to go over before we go into our topic this week. Actually, a surprising amount of news for what has been happening in the parks. So let's start with the big one. Disney parks post a $2 billion loss due to COVID-19 in the third quarter. It should not be surprising.
That's still ouch.
But still ouch. That's a huge loss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not surprising. I think we all knew it was going to be a pretty substantial loss.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you guys think this means for, I know we've talked a lot about the 50th, but like, what do you think this means for the future of the parks?
I mean, I think as soon as coronavirus vaccine comes out, that things are going to slowly start to go back to normal, and that hopefully we can expect some sense of normalcy going back to the way that the parks were before. Although I hope that they keep some of the things that they've put in place after all is said and done, even when it's not necessarily needed. You know?
I agree with that.
Yeah. I also
like, can everybody still stay 6 feet away from me?
Well, one thing that I thought too, for the one day that we went, is just the hand sanitizer stations everywhere. I would love that to be there all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, you didn't go to Animal Kingdom, but have you been to Disney Springs?
I went to Disney Springs like right after it opened.
Okay, because I know that they had debuted this touchless security system where they can kind of body scan you and scan your bag, and they don't have to actually do a physical bag check anymore. And they have it now at Disney Springs and Animal Kingdom, and they're supposed to be bringing it to the other parks as well. And I mean, I'm assuming if they're putting all this money into that technology, that it's probably going to be there for the long haul. But that's something that I feel like is really exciting and way overdue, and will help security go a lot faster.
Yeah, because when we went, I don't remember security necessarily, but they were had the no-touch thermometer scanning our forehead. But yeah, I can definitely see. I feel like that's always the bottleneck getting into any of the parks is the security. So if they have a way to kind of expedite that would be good.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Definitely.
My biggest worry is more about like future expansion. Like with a loss this size, how long until we actually start seeing new things coming again? How many of those projects that were on the table got canned? Like that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wonder if they'll bring those projects that they canned back, or just throw them to the wayside and focus on different things, like when they do get their funds back in order.
I mean, I can't remember if we talked about it on here. I know there were rumors that they were canning the Mary Poppins ride and the Spaceship Earth update. Like both of those were supposed to get chopped because of the losses. I wonder if I don't know. My guess is we probably won't see anything substantial for another year or two. Not even because like $2 billion in the grand scheme of things probably isn't a massive loss for the Disney parks. Like it to us is a lot of money, but I feel like that's probably maybe one or two major ride overhauls, maybe more, and then like an extra little cushion. They're gonna have to build back up to that to get to doing anything substantial.
Yeah.
Also, just before we move on, I did notice on that news article under like the side tab where it has other news articles that they did roll out the artificial intelligence bag scanners at Hollywood Studios literally today.
Oh, wow. Good timing.
So pretty cool.
So next news topic that we've got on here, kind of a fun one. The Splash Mountain ride vehicle has sunk at the Magic Kingdom.
Oh, boy. It's just asking for a refurb, right?
I guess so.
Have you guys ever seen that? I think it was a Reddit post or a Twitter thread about how Disney sabotages their rides before they're supposed to get refurbed so that people will think that they're gonna need a refurb. It's probably the most like Disney internet conspiracy theory thing that I've ever seen.
That's interesting, though.
Because
I'd like to see other examples.
well, I mean, we've seen it happen before with like they announce a refurb and then the ride just breaks down. I think part of that is probably that they know it's going to get refurbed and they just stop doing as much like in-depth maintenance on it. But
that's probably very, very accurate.
But I've seen that conspiracy before, and I as soon as I saw this article, I was like, "Yep, here it goes. It's going to come back around."
Yeah, but this, like, I know the water's probably not that deep, but it's still so scary I mean, if you're like sitting down and the safety bars hadn't come up, and they would be like stuck there, they could have probably drowned if they were stuck under the security bars.
According to this article, which cites sources, the place on the attraction where it actually sunk was 6 feet of water.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I mean, a person under 6 feet that's standing up in it could drown if they couldn't get out, but especially with the safety bars. But luckily they lifted up and the people were able to get out in time and nobody was injured or whatever. But still, what I'm looking for with this news article, and I've been kind of scouting it out since it happened, is like, what did Disney do to make it right?
Oh, if they did anything, that's not getting posted around online. Because Disney...
I'm so curious what happens when things like that happen that are like genuinely scary experiences.
I feel like,
the fact that we don't hear anything about it, I wonder if they have the guests sign some sort of like NDA about, what happened so that they don't go out, and because you don't ever really hear about that.
Right, exactly.
Or I also feel like Disney probably does the bare minimum so that people don't hear about it. Like,
I don't know, man. If they don't have people sign an NDA, like, they can't force them to sign an NDA, first of all, without some sort of incentive. And if the incentive isn't good enough, then why would they sign it? You know what I mean? So I'm thinking they're getting paid for their silence. Which, I don't know. I would take some Disney money for an NDA. Assuming I wasn't actually hurt, which luckily, like I said, they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, in this instance, there's not a ton that I feel like they probably did. Maybe fast passes or money, or I don't know.
They had to do more than fast passes. Their boat literally sank.
I feel like a lot of probably had like phones ruined and that kind of stuff from this. So
yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Or shoes at the very least.
So our next two news articles are kind of linked. I guess we'll talk about this one first, and then we can talk about the second one. So the first thing that comes up is that Disney Society Orchestra debuts and replaces Beauty and the Beast live on stage at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Which, if anybody at home is following, I don't know if we talked about this. I know we talked about it in private. Disney is kind of in a big dispute with the Actors Equity Union. Have we talked about this?
I don't think so, because this is news to me.
Oh boy. So
I definitely knew about it, but it's because I was reading about it, not because we talked about it.
So, back in June, the Equity Union asked Disney to delay their reopening on the parks. Basically like Disneyland did. I think that was around the same time too, right? I'm gonna say yes.
I would assume so.
Yeah, so they called for the reopening to be delayed, and then they didn't. So the Actors Equity Union put a bunch of commercials out and things that were like hashtag protect the magic makers. They put out like this big commercial that was like Florida's cases as of July 4th, and it had an overhead shot of Disney and it had the case number on it. So like the Actors Equity Union is like shooting all of these shots over at Disney, and Disney's just shutting down shows that have anything to do with the Equity Union, which kind of makes sense. I'm sorry. I get the idea behind the union, but like, really, what did you think was going to happen?
And that's the thing.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you do that, and the company is as big as Disney is, where they can do other things instead of, giving into your demands.
Right. And I mean, we've seen the Disney Society Orchestra come through before, because I'm pretty sure they were the ones that did that Pixar show a while back in Hollywood Studios. But like if you mess with Disney like this and they're the ones that are giving you all of this work, I think that you're kind of asking for it in a way, which sounds horrible, but I also think that there was no other way that this could have gone. And then on top of that, like, what about the people that didn't really feel that way? Like that's the one thing that I really have a big gripe with the union doing something like this for, because like maybe some of these people actually didn't care that much. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the way I see it is that the equity actors are going to have to return at some point. So I guess they're trying to have like a, I don't know, strong arm with Disney to let them know that they're not going to just stand for whatever. Because if you think about it, typically the equity actors are the ones that have speaking or singing roles. Like that's why if you look at this Disney Society Orchestra, they're still characters, but none of them speak. So that doesn't conflict the equity agreement. But you have, Finding Nemo the musical, which is almost, all of them are going to be equity actors because they're singing and speaking. And, like Indiana Jones stunt show and Festival of the Lion King. Those things have to come back at some point. So I think it's good that the equity union is kind of letting Disney know that they're not going to stand for, terms that they don't appreciate or agree with.
See, I agree with that, but I also disagree with that. I think that at some point, yes, they probably do have to kind of give in, because like the way that the contracts work, I'm assuming that, like you said, if they speak or sing, they have to be a part of the union. But then it's like, at what point does Disney just say, okay, well, we don't want to do stage shows then, or we don't want to do these things because you did this bad thing to us? Like Disney, I feel like of all companies is probably the company that could pull something like that.
Yeah.
Disney has, like, obviously in the age of coronavirus, stage shows and meet and greets, like even meet and greets, like the face characters, those are equity actors. Like if they speak to someone, I believe that they have to be equity to, be able to speak to guests in the parks. But think of how much like draw those stage shows have. Like Not So Scary, the reason they canceled it is because they can't have fireworks or stage show.
Yeah.
Or meet and greets. And inevitably why I think they're going to cancel Very Merry as well.
I don't know. I'm interested to see how this plays out. I think that's where I kind of land with it, is like, I think both sides have a lot of weight. in this situation, and it's going to be interesting to see which side comes out on top, because I could see it going either way, honestly. But on the same vein of that, Voyage of the Little Mermaid, I cannot talk tonight apparently, is also permanently closing. That's apparently been rumored, but it hasn't.
Not shocking.
Yeah, it's not
true.
shocking, but it's also weird that there was no sort of replacement or anything that, you know, was rumored for this as well.
Yeah. I mean, again, with the equity actors, this show can't really be open right now. So
the show really shouldn't be open right now.
It definitely makes sense that it wouldn't be open during this period of time. But as far as closing it permanently, I'm also not surprised because it's so outdated. Like I think I said in our Discord chat last time when I was there in February, me and Caleb did this because it had been a really long time. And it wasn't bad, I will say, but the footage, like the video footage that they showed, was so old and grainy. I had the thought of, this is not a thing that would be super difficult to replace, so this has got to be on the chopping block soon since they're not wasting the money.
Yeah. It's not surprising at all to me that this is going. I feel like this was one that I kind of speculated was going to go because it's one of the weaker things in Hollywood studios when they're starting to try to at least build up some of that park more. The only thing that I could say would make it surprising for them to close this is just like the number of things that are in Hollywood studios right now is so small.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the only reason I can see them keeping it around any longer than it needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's all the news we've got. So that brings us around to our topic this week, which is superlatives. We decided we were going to do a superlatives episode following our anniversary live stream. Kind of feels fitting since this is the thing that we do a lot.
Yeah.
So we're bringing it back around to talk about some of our best, worst, most popular, maybe even some fun ones in there. So is there anyone that you guys want to start with, or should we just go down the line? I know we're kind of like waiting for Kirsten to pop back in.
Well, there were two that, I guess just a little funny story. Jordan broke her computer charger, so she's been having to use mine to do work. So I had a list filled out, and she went in here and changed some of it. So I have some funny ones to list what she put for best and worst sounds of Walt Disney World.
Oh, boy. Maybe we should start with that one then, because I like that one.
Well, let's see. For best sound, she put Move It, Shake It Parade for me, which definitely not true.
Oh my god, I love it actually.
I like the song that's,
yeah, that song is
that
so
song gets
catchy.
stuck in your head.
Yeah, I think I just don't like the song because I know what comes with it.
I mean,
it puts me in a good mood. Like, I've seen the show like several times roll down Main Street, and I'm just walking and it gets me in like a little bop. And I'm just walking down the street and it feels nice. It feels like Disney.
I feel like seeing the show is not the right word for it. It's more like gotten stopped by and put in a weird traffic
you
jam.
have become a part of the show you didn't want to be in.
You don't want to dance around with Max Goof?
I honestly don't think anybody intends to be stopped by Move It, Shake It.
I did one time. I stood in the hub and waited for it.
Oh my goodness.
But it was 90% because one of my friends was working and she was meeting us there.
See, that's different though.
So, but I wasn't mad about it because I like that little show. It's a cute little diversion. Everybody hates on it, but
diversion is definitely not the word I would use for that.
Well, it's a cute little way to keep people entertained for 15 minutes or whatever.
I will also say that I feel like that my opinion on Move It, Shake It will change drastically when I have kids. Like if it's still around, if I have a child, like that's going to be a different experience, I feel like.
That's a good point. I do think it is more catered towards children and getting them like to be active and, participate. So maybe I'm just too old for it.
What did she have for your other ones? I'm curious about Jordan's list now.
Oh, so she only changed those two, and I didn't realize until I was like recording, and I went back in here like, wait, that's not right. And then for worst sound, she put "Blood on the Saddle," which is that's terrible. She should not have put that. It's one of my favorites.
I'm sure if Kirsten was here, she would very strongly disagree or she would very strongly agree with Jordan's assessment.
Yes, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So do we want to talk about best sounds, actual best sounds?
We should do that.
Sure. I didn't know we were going to do this one, so somebody else should start this and I'll think about it.
So
I didn't have any particular order. I just put like a small list of sounds that I like. So one of the ones I put that I think is pretty unanimous is the Tower of Terror area music.
That's a good one. I didn't think of that.
If we're talking area music, one of my all-time favorites that's still currently there is the Tomorrowland one. I don't know why, but like just that, like there's not much that I love about Tomorrowland anymore, but the Tomorrowland area loop never fails to get me in a good mood.
It's a good one. My number one was the Adventureland loop, though. I think that will forever and always be my favorite area loop.
Yes.
Yeah, I like when I was thinking about these lists, I only had one for worst sounds because I was thinking of all the soundtracks on the rides and the area loops, and I was just like, I can't think of any bad
I can,
area
because it's actually what made the worst sound in mine.
Oh,
No, I'm sorry, no, it didn't.
Oh no!
I changed it, but I was going to put the Fantasyland one. I don't know why. I really, really, really don't like the Fantasyland area loop. It sounds like cheesy, cliche theme park music to me.
But isn't that what Fantasyland is?
I guess,
kind of, yeah.
but I don't know.
Well,
I really don't like it.
To its credit, though, I think Fantasyland has a lot of other good sounds. Like, I love the Carousel soundtrack.
Yes.
Like, that's such a good soundtrack because it's just classic Disney songs in a carousel-like arrangement.
Yeah.
And then the Tangled bathrooms have their own loop. So that's part of Fantasyland, too. And, like, I think sections of Fantasyland have good little loops, but overall, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I hate that, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird, though. But other good sounds, how do we not talk about the best one? The Magic Band Touchpoint sound.
That's a pretty good one.
That has to be the best sound because that's like, your Disney day has started.
It's
when
just
you hear
like
that little ting.
A Pavlovian response. It's just like, oh my gosh, I'm happy now because I heard the ding.
Mouth starts watering.
I heard the ding.
Yeah, similar to that, I also really like the monorail doors closing sound, and obviously the little por favor spiel. Similar reasoning there, though. It's just like I just love being on the monorail.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do we have any other best sounds before we talk about worst sounds?
I also put the entire Fantasmic soundtrack. Just because I would say if I listen to one Disney related song the most in my car, it would be the Fantasmic, the full show.
Really?
Yes, I just love it. It's so uplifting and it gets me in a good mood, and I get really emotional at the end when Mickey says some imagination, huh?
I can see Beth doing the choreography to it in her car too.
Yes, and Joshua is actually even more of a nerd than I am because he was in marching band in high school, so he knows how to do like the conductor hands for it.
There's nothing wrong with being in marching band in high school.
What? I didn't say there was. I'm guessing you were then.
I was a huge music nerd in high school.
What did you play?
In marching band and concert band. Actually, do you want to take a guess? Because this may be a fun game. It'll surprise you.
Clarinet.
Wow.
Oh,
Dead on.
dang.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, Mario seems like a clarinet person.
Yeah, it was.
Nice. I was so proud of my guess.
I really didn't think you were gonna guess it. That was good.
I played flute in middle school, but that's as far as I went in band. I really wanted to do percussion, and I didn't get picked for it, and I think that just kind of jaded me.
You got
They're like,
picked
no,
for
you're gonna
things?
play. Well, we had to like play all the instruments, and the teacher determined which one we would be
How does that
best
work if
suited
you don't know how to
for.
play any of them
And
yet? Or like,
I don't know. I guess it was just like because apparently a lot of people have a hard time getting the mouth structure for the flute right.
Yeah.
And because I got it right off the bat, she was like, "All right, flute," and I was like, "But," and she's like, "Nope, flute."
Should have intentionally
like-
screwed up.
Okay. But anyway,
so worst sounds at Walt Disney World.
it's a small world when you're halfway through the ride. That's the only one I got.
I mean, that's pretty accurate. I would say that
It's like I can handle it for the first 10 minutes, but after that, I'm like, all right, I'm ready to be off this ride.
I feel like this is totally controversial, but like as much as I hate It's a Small World, the one noise that I hate the most from It's a Small World is the clock.
oh yeah,
I can see that.
That ticking noise just in the queue, if it's long, is enough for me to not want to be there anymore.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got another
is
worst
it?
sound that I just thought of.
Screaming children?
Well, that I didn't think about that. But I was gonna say, get on the back of a banshee and fly. That whole guy, I can't. It's like it's endearing to me because I love the attraction so much in a small way. But every time I'm like, God, I want to make fun of him so bad.
No, that's the thing is, it's like Flight of Passage is so incredible and so detail oriented about everything, and then that pre-show is so bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's really like they just took the first take and they were like, okay, well, we don't have any money left over on this attraction to do another one, so we'll use that.
We don't
Yeah.
have any money left over on this attraction.
I don't know. I feel like what they were going for was probably he's a nerdy scientist and doesn't have good social skills, maybe, or maybe I'm looking too much for a reason that he sucks.
I think you're reading way too far into it. It like, you know what, on it, it sounds like he forgot his line,
Right.
and they just
Yeah.
went with it.
Like you said, they just took the first take and said, that's good.
Yeah. I will say though, I've seen that guy, that same actor, and I've told you guys about this in 2 different TV shows as like a very small role, and he's just not a great actor in general. So I think it's just him.
So it may have actually been like his millionth take, and they were just like, we're done. Just
Yeah.
wrap it up.
I'm
Go
tired
home."
of hearing the same spiel over and over. We're leaving.
I honestly don't have any other worst ones. That was the only one I could think of.
I have one.
Oh boy.
The whatever the finale song is on Journey into Imagination. I think I said this before, but the last time I rode Journey into Imagination, and I think I literally mean the last time that I rode Journey into Imagination, because I don't plan on riding it probably ever again. We got stuck in that room for like 20 minutes, and that thing played on a loop, and that I already didn't really like the attraction. That will forever have ruined it for me now.
Well,
Yeah.
so here's the thing that I think is probably important to remember with like attraction songs and getting stuck somewhere. Most of the attraction songs, you're supposed to hear it for maybe like 2 minutes. So they're
That's
very repetitive.
Mhm.
I can't imagine, as much as I love Haunted Mansion and I love Grim Grinning Ghost, as much as I feel like that would be a fun ride to get stuck on. If I was stuck there for that long, I feel like I would hate that song too.
I would much rather hear Grim Grinning Ghosts than the Journey to Imagination song,
See,
though.
that's
Well,
the thing.
yeah.
I've been stuck in the graveyard too, and I still love Haunted Mansion. So
I mean, I guess the graveyard is a little bit more detailed too, so that's probably a bad example, but
yeah,
the concept is still there.
I also want to say, as worst sounds, just Figment's voice in general. I don't like. It's too like funhouse clown for me. That must be a hot take.
No, I don't know. I feel like I don't have an opinion on Figment. Like, I like him and I would be sad if he left, but like I also know that he's a shell of his former self, so
Yeah.
there's no
I just feel like they could have done a, you know, dragon with a childlike sense of wonder without making him sound like an annoying child.
yeah.
that's true, I guess. So go on to the next one. Attractions most likely to be around for the 100th anniversary.
Yeah, I came up with this one just because I thought we're looking at the 50th anniversary coming up, and it's interesting to see, you know, rides that have stuck around from the beginning. So, what, if any, do you think of attractions are in the parks now will be there 50 years from now?
Dumbo.
Dang, that's a good one. I didn't think about that, but you're probably right.
I think Dumbo is like the cockroach of Magic Kingdom. It's gonna survive a nuclear war. Mostly,
Or at least some form
well,
of it. Whether it's magic carpets or Triceratops spin.
I mean, the biggest thing with Dumbo though is that like it's an easy concept. It's not something that's gonna get dated quick because there's not much to it. And then even the parts of Dumbo that like they could update, they did. Like the queue is now so far ahead of most other Disney queues just because of the wait system. Like I think that if they keep updating that or doing something to that ride really has some staying power.
Actually,
That's a good
I think it's
pick.
better than mine for sure.
What was yours?
I said Pirates just because, I mean, it's a classic. I think it's enjoyable for all ages. And I think we've seen time and time again that, you know, they are willing to change it and update it to make sure that it stays in the park in some ways instead of, you know, getting rid of it and replacing it.
Yeah, that's true. I think this question also can be spun in the sense of like, are we talking attraction staying around like in its current form or updated to hell and back? Because honestly, a lot of Disney classic attractions could probably stay around if they just kept updating them.
Yeah.
Because I think Haunted Mansion is kind of in the same vein, but I think Pirates is a really good pick because like look at Shanghai's Pirates. That's another one that's like so far ahead of ride technology.
The one thing that did make me choose Pirates over Haunted Mansion, because obviously I thought of Haunted Mansion almost right off the bat, is that I could see somewhere in the future Disney changing just the entire theming of Liberty Square, which might mean that Haunted Mansion went. But I don't ever see them getting rid of Adventureland.
Yeah, I actually couldn't fully agree with that. I think, this brings the question, if they redid Liberty Square, what would they change it to? But that may be another episode topic for another time.
Yeah, that's a fun idea to discuss.
Do you have any
Well, I did. The one that I thought would be the most likely would be Kilimanjaro Safaris. Just because it has a lot of rewritability power, and it's an animal kingdom. You can't have Animal Kingdom without animals, and that's like I would say, signature attraction of a animal themed theme park. So I feel like it has a pretty good chance of sticking around, and definitely.
I could see that. I also feel like that one's probably out of all of the ones
Mhm.
in that park that they really don't have to change too much for it to be like current. I don't know, maybe update the safari vehicles, but like animals are always going to be here.
Hello.
Hello, fellow kids.
Welcome.
Hey,
Guys, what did I miss?
you came just in time for the most fun question so far. What attraction do you think is going to be around for the 100th anniversary?
Wishes. In my dreams. It'll be the last thing I see before I die. I'm gonna go with like Haunted Mansion. I don't know. I mean, it's classic, a little spooky. You know, there's no technology involved like Carousel of Progress where you're like, this is old. Yeah, I think that Haunted Mansion is pretty classic. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah. Good pick. That was on my list as well, but not the one that I ultimately picked as the most likely.
Gotcha.
I still maintain that Dumbo is going to be the Magic Kingdom's cockroach.
Oh well, that is
I think I agree with Mario.
So let's move on to some off Kirsten's list. We have most emotional attraction most likely to give you the feels.
No, that's Beth.
Sorry, Beth. I forgot who was what color.
Fantastic. As I discussed earlier. It always gives me the feels.
Does the One Man's Dream film count?
I would
Sure.
say yes,
I don't
because
think I've
that's a
ever
good
watched
one.
Crying. Like ever.
Aw.
And also Wishes.
And also Wishes,
I
of
think
course.
Wishes to every superlative, as long as it's a good one.
Did you guys have any, Brian or Mario?
I put one. This was a hard one for me. I put PhilharMagic just because I guess Disney music always like evokes some kind of emotion in me, and since that's what this attraction is mainly based around, so that was my choice.
That's a good one. I don't really know. There's not really one that gets me like choked up or anything. I guess the one that I really weirdly enough get feels for is the beginning of Carousel of Progress, like that opening dialogue thing. For some reason, every time I'm like, oh, that's so sweet, but that's pretty much like the extent of my feels.
It's a good one, though. I could see why.
I like Philhar too, Brian. I think that, I don't know, there's something about those movies, like the songs from the classics of our childhood.
I think it
know?
also really helps that is, like you said, the classics of our childhood. Like we grew up with those movies. What was that?
Yeah. I said so much nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. So the other one that you had on here was best backdrop for your Insta photos.
I feel like there are a lot of obvious ones here. You know, all of the ones that have already been done a million times, like the purple wall and the bubblegum wall and whatever. But I found that Galaxy's Edge has a lot of cool walls that are good backdrops as well.
I'm a fan of just the classic purple wall because I feel like it was just this weird thing that was kind of organic and like funny. And I don't know, I really like, I'm not into like where they redesigned it. I don't take pictures there. I just like the OG purple wall because I don't know. Like I said, it just like happened in this weird way. and now it's like this huge thing. And yeah.
I agree with that. I like that it was kind of they didn't intend for it to happen, but now every time they do it, it feels like they're trying to replicate the purple wall.
Yeah.
Also think the popsicle stick wall in Toy Story Land is pretty cool.
I like the moss wall one. That one's pretty cool. That's about the extent of my Instagram wall knowledge.
I mean, I guess backdrop could mean other things than walls.
Yeah, because that's not what I put it at all.
What did you put?
So what did you put?
I put the Tree of Life.
Yeah?
God, you're so old.
Oh, that's a great one.
Wall.
Yeah, Brian, get with the trends.
I
But I agree, though. I love the Tree of Life.
I mean, you also can't go wrong with a castle.
Yeah.
think the castle is a little too cliche.
It is, but tell me that you don't get happy when you see the castle.
I do, for sure.
Next one we had on here was most popular World Showcase Pavilion. Anybody want to take this one first?
I put
France.
Mexico.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I totally missed an opportunity there. France?
I thought that's what you were going for.
That's great.
No, I didn't. It was coming out of my mouth as I realized.
Funny enough, I put as my top two choices
Really?
Mexico and France. So we're all on the same. Well,
I would have
guess
said
Maria's not on the
Japan.
same
I feel
page,
like
but-
that's one of the most
That's a good one,
popular
too.
ones.
That's certainly my favorite one. But I feel like basic people would pick Mexico and France.
I don't eat pork, but that is the one time that I will break my non-pork eating self and to get one of those ham and cheese croissants, because I don't know what they do to them. Like if there's drugs in them or something, it's like literally the best ham and cheese croissant ever of my entire life. And that's like what I look forward to about Epcot, is getting my ham and cheese croissant from France. If I need to,
Well, that's
eat
understandable.
more, then I'll go to Japan.
Yeah. I feel like I wanted to say Mexico for this because I feel like it's always so crowded, but I also feel like that's just because the pavilion is small.
I thought about that as well, and I thought, oh, maybe Mexico's always crowded because it's, if you go left, it's the first one that you come upon, but you don't have that same issue with Canada.
That's true.
It's also small, and it's also, if you go right,
Well-
the first one you come upon, and it's never crowded because Canada.
Well, and I
guess.
also think that the weird thing about Canada is that like the layout of the pavilion, because Mexico, it's like to go into the pavilion, you're going in for the attraction, the main shops and the restaurant are all in that one building that you have to go up and into. Canada, it's like you walk in and you kind of like don't really have a sense of direction. One, because there's not like a big attraction like you have of Canada, but I don't think most people go into Canada for its attraction.
Don't think they do
And then
either.
the store is like up and around, like you have to go up the steps and around, and then what else is really in Canada,
True. Yeah, everything that you would go to Canada for is like tucked away. So that makes sense that it wouldn't be crowded on the main pathway.
I do think, kind of going back to the previous one, I think Canada has some good photo ops, but that's pretty much it.
does.
Like most of Canada is scenery, at least
Yeah.
for me.
But Mexico, I also feel like I feel like people don't really realize, and so honestly, it seems so crowded because people aren't really going in. Like the others, I feel like it's easier to see, like, oh, this is a store. Oh, here's this bakery. Like, but Mexico, it's like, oh, here's this giant ass pyramid. I guess I should like.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong. It's the only thing there is to the left the pyramid, and then to the right a food section.
Yeah, it's true.
I would ask what we think the least popular one is, but I think we're all in a agreement that it's Canada or the African Outpost.
Say
I like
the American
Does that
Adventure.
kind of outpost even count as a pavilion?
Yeah, American Adventure is not that.
I don't count the Outpost. But yeah, I would say the American Adventure. I don't think I've ever seen it crowded.
Really? I've seen
Like every time I've gone into the attraction itself, there have been like rows and rows and rows of empty seats. And
I've never done that attraction.
fine.
Do you need about
If you took out all the sad like illustrations of soldiers being dead, it would be much better. Just keep the animatronic part. Take out
the
all the other
animatronics are
stuff.
great? Yeah, I think the animatronics are great. Like some of them still hold up pretty well.
Yeah.
It's just too long. That's my problem. I feel like every time I've been in there, I've taken a nap because it's just so long.
Yeah. I also really love the Voices of Liberty. So
Yes.
while I think that the American Adventure Pavilion is the least popular, and it's probably my least favorite overall as well, it still has a few little gems in there.
The crazy thing to me, though, about the American Adventure and especially the Voices of Liberty, I think this is the part that makes it really crazy, is I feel like the Voices of Liberty are one of those things that's like, and this is going to be very contradictory how I'm going to say this, a underrated thing that's incredibly popular, because I feel like it's a show that doesn't happen as often as like some of the other things that do in World Showcase. But I feel like I've never been to a Voices of Liberty show where there wasn't at least like a bunch of people standing around for them.
That's true.
It's very weird. And like the space that they have for it also makes it feel like there's a lot of people there too. So next one on the list, actually Kirsten stuff. Best trash can design.
So I'm gonna let you guys take this one because I didn't have time to go over all of these. I was too busy focused on the other stuff.
I'm not
Maybe we could skip over those and put them on another list for a different superlative episode.
I mean, I have a
future.
few of them if you want to
Yeah,
go over them, but if not, we can skip them.
I didn't even have time. Yeah, I didn't even have time. Eli I took his shoes off, and so he started screaming because he needed his shoes on to go fast. And I was like, "It's bedtime. You don't need to go fast." He was like, "Yes, I do. Give them back to me. I'm putting them on." And then I took off his glasses, and he's like, "I need my glasses to see." And I was like, "No, because you're going to bed. You don't need your glasses."
Blur logic.
So every article of clothing was a screaming
Oh my gosh.
match.
Funny. So my internet had cut out a little bit at the beginning. Did you guys already do pools? Or did you skip to sounds?
No, I realized that we skipped pools, so we went right to sounds.
Did you guys have a list for pools?
Ooh,
So
I
we could go
certainly do.
back to that.
We can go back to
Yeah,
pools.
let's do that.
Well, full disclosure, I've only swam in 2 pools on property. So my list of experiences is very short, but I have seen several pools so that's kind of what I made my list from.
That's fair enough. My top one I have never swam in, and I probably never will.
Is it Stormalong Bay?
No, wait, that's not the one at Beach Club, is it?
Yeah.
That's it. Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the big coveted one. It's the only one where you have to actually like scan your magic band to get into.
I mean, it's got its own lazy river. That should let you know how good it is.
Yeah, that's also on my list.
That's such a cool concept. Like a pool with a lazy river attached to it at a Disney resort.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. I haven't been there yet either, but
Isn't that one of the ones that like you have to touch your magic band to get into?
Yeah.
Like,
I think they give you a wristband, honestly, or they used to, because they're super strict about
Yeah,
that
no, you
one.
do have to scan your magic band. That's the only one. The only pool that you have to scan your magic band to get into. As far as I know, anyway.
I thought you had to scan now to get in. Like, I
Yeah,
thought
that's
that
what I
they
said.
were locked without your.
Oh, you're talking about the pools in
No, I mean,
general?
like, but I thought more. I
oh
thought more
yeah,
like the.
I think
some
most
in
of
the,
them do
No,
actually.
I mean, I guess like I said, I've only swam in
Yeah,
two,
I think
and
it's like
I did
two.
not have to scan my magic band to get into either.
If you can't tell, I don't really swim.
Yeah, I think to get into the boardwalk last time, we had to scan when we were staying there.
It's probably, you know what? I think it's a deluxe thing because the one time I stayed at a deluxe resort, it was you had to touch your magic band to get in too.
So it's a bougie thing. That
Yeah.
makes sense because I've never stayed at a deluxe resort.
Did anybody have any other pools? Because I had a couple.
I like the poly pool. I'll
Yes.
say I like the poly pool. That's probably my favorite that I've been in out of all of them.
So, do you want my surprising one?
Yeah.
I like the pool, the big blue pool at Art of Animation. I haven't been in it, but I like the concept of it because it's the one that you can go underwater and you can hear the fish from Finding Nemo talking to you.
That's pretty cool.
I think that's such a cool concept.
Yeah.
It probably would get super
That is
annoying
cool.
after a while, but it's just that little touch.
Yeah. I think that's a good pick.
Honestly, though, the older I get, like the more grossed out I am by just being in public pools in general.
Yeah. I kind of feel the
It's
same
just
way.
just not for me. And I saw a guy do a test on TikTok. I'm on TikTok too much. And he got a like 5-gallon bucket of pool water. And he treated them both with chlorine, and he only put pee in one of them. And the one that was treated that had not been peed in had like no smell. And the one that had pee in it smelled like a pool. And so he's like, clearly when you go to a public pool and it smells so strong, it's not just the chlorine. It's the fact that there's probably a whole lot.
There can't be that much pee. Like the water cycling through, I'm sure I'm not saying
Any pee is too much.
I
pee.
mean, yeah, I agree.
You have to be able to
But
tolerate
I
a
mean, it's
certain
also
amount of
probably people's like body sweat and stuff.
Imagine if it were like oil and vinegar and it just like floated to the top.
No one would ever swim again.
Okay, here's a question for you, diverting off of the topic of pee. How do you guys feel about like the private pools at the hotels? Like not the private pools, but like the quiet ones, the smaller ones that are in like some of the moderate resorts.
Oh, they're good because there's less pee in those.
I knew we were gonna come back around to it.
No.
I think they're fine. I've been to the one at Poly.
They're fine.
Okay,
I think it'd be nicer if you had the quiet pool that was designated like adults only or something.
that would be
cool.
nice.
Also, I feel like the quiet pools are a good concept because of the people that want to not be at the big main busy pool, but they also don't have the theming of the main pools.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like the best part about the pools is the theming, and these just don't have them.
Yeah. It's like I have a pool at my apartment complex that I can swim in for free.
The only other one that I had was I had two, and they're kind of tied. The pool at Caribbean Beach, I really like.
That was on my list as well.
Yes, I like that pool a lot. I don't really love that resort. Actually, it's probably my least favorite moderate. And then the one at Coronado Springs, I really like too.
Nice. I also had Doubloon Lagoon at Port Orleans French Quarter on mine. That's one of the two pools I have swam in, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I think the theming is really cute. Obviously, I'm a big sucker for New Orleans theming, but I like that one, and the water slide was super fun. I know that's a thing that I think it's the only moderate with or all the moderates have water slides, don't they?
They do.
Okay, so it's only the values that don't.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's a really cute water slide, and the theming overall is really cute.
See, I don't know. I don't really like French Quarter's pool.
I like it. I feel like it's cheesy.
It is.
That's why I like it.
Yeah, I mean that might be it.
That's why I don't like French Quarter.
That's why I do like French Quarter. I love the cheesiness of like. I don't care. When I go visit places, I try not to look like a tourist, but in my heart, I am a tourist. And
I
that
enjoy
is like that's like the tourist resort because you're like being a tourist at a I don't know, popular tourist spot.
I enjoy the bouginess of like the deluxe resorts.
I'm not a big deluxe resort person mainly because like the price, but of the moderates, just I feel like all of them have really nice, not cheesy theming for their pools, and then here comes Port Orleans French Quarter with all its bright colors and character statues, which I get is like the Mardi Gras theme, whatever. But like, I don't know, it sticks out so much.
It also might be my being a party animal.
Maybe. Did anybody have any other superlatives that you guys wanted to do off this list? I know we were going to skip the trash can ones, but I didn't know if there were any other ones you wanted to skip or specifically do.
Let's do like one more and then save the rest, or I don't know how long we've been.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
let's do cast member costumes, best and worst, and then we can wrap it.
Sure, that sounds good. So, anybody want to start us off with the best cast member costumes?
But Tower of Terror.
Yeah, it's a close tie between that and Haunted Mansion for me.
Yeah, Haunted Mansion was my second.
I'm gonna go with Quest for the best because like guest relations. Just because whenever I think of it, I think of like how embarrassing is this going to be to wear because I had to wear them and it sucked. Also, who doesn't?
Your best list?
Oh, I thought we were on best. Right?
Yeah.
But you said, "Oh, it's so embarrassing to wear."
Because that's what makes me think of like a good or a bad one. So I would never want to wear the Tower of Terror costume because it's embarrassing. But like,
gotcha.
If I had a plaid vest, I would feel like I was president of Disney World.
I feel like that's a very iconic costume too. Like everybody kind of knows that costume.
Yeah, that's true.
Get some respect with that vest.
I was gonna say I really like the Jungle Cruise skipper costumes. I feel like that's also an iconic costume.
That was my other one on the list.
Nice.
Yeah.
The Fantasyland ones would probably be really embarrassing to wear too.
Yeah.
On my worst list.
I will say I also have a love-hate relationship with the cast member costumes for Not So Scary.
I love them. They're so...
I feel like they're so tacky, but in a good way.
Yeah.
I think
that's why I
said
I have love-hate. Yeah.
Yeah, not necessarily in a good way.
Maybe I just have like the, I don't know, affection for the event, and that makes me like them more.
Maybe. So do we want to move on to the worst list for this one, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Who wants to start us off with the worst? I'm sure we've got a bunch. Oh.
I win.
Oh, no.
I have the worst, and it's Pizzafari.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty bad.
That literally is when I saw the superlative, it immediately popped into my head because every time I see the Pizzafari outfits, I'm like, those are so ugly.
Those are bad. In a similar vein, I put a lot of the just different shop costumes around Animal Kingdom. I feel like a lot of them are kind of over the top.
Yeah, they're very much over the top.
I hate
It's just they all, a lot of them have such bright clashing colors that are tacky in a not
the
good
prints
way.
are what gets me so much. Like they're all very, very busy.
They're very busy, yeah.
I feel like for Animal Kingdom they should have like neutral tones because it's supposed to be natural, but I guess they're going for like, I don't know, traditional African patterns or something.
Yeah.
I have no
What were you
idea.
gonna say, Kirsten?
I hate anything that has like a awful long skirt, like some of the Main Street USA ones. Just like Frump City, it's awful. Also, I'd rather
City.
die than wear the hat that they have to wear in the confectionery.
Wow, tell us how you really feel.
It's so embarrassing.
My one of my least favorite ones, and I feel like this is just so, I don't know, the lab coats for Journey into Imagination. It feels so like, when you look at some of the other costumes, they're so detailed, and then these cast members are just in a lab coat that says Figment
That's
on the
good.
sleeve.
Yeah.
See, and that to me is a sign of a good costume. Could I wear this
Really?
in a normal place and like seem like I wasn't a freak? Okay, then I'll put it on.
Around in a lab coat with
I mean,
Figment on the
it's
sleeve
better than that awful
in public.
hat.
I
like
think it's
Columbia-
better than a lot of them.
I would rather wear
Those
the
Columbia
hat.
Harbor House hats, those are bad. Those are bad too.
I would believe that.
I think you don't like hats, Kirsten.
No, I love hats. I actually have like a nice head for hats because it's so giant. But but I mean, that's the difference because I've had to wear these awful costumes before, and like the humiliation that I felt sometimes was just over the top. So, you know.
What was the costume that you had to wear that made you feel the most humiliation?
Hop syndrome.
I felt the pain in your voice in that one.
It's awful.
Any other best or worst cast member costumes?
I also put the American Adventure, like the general cast members in their
Yeah.
like colonial getup, just because I hate that theme overall. Pretty much, there's so much cooler things that could be done to represent our
Oh,
country.
you mean you don't love colonial America?
I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't really speak from experience, but I don't know. I like Hamilton, but I grew up in a Revolutionary War town. I've been to all of the, not all of the, I'm sure, but like the big ones, like Jamestown or whatever, Williamsburg. And it's cool. The like reenactments and stuff are like fun to watch, but like the costumes in Disney World, I feel like that whole pavilion could be so much better. It's like, that's one of the most boring, bland looking costumes, in my opinion.
But I feel like that also kind of falls in line with like Kirsten's thing with the big dresses and whatnot, because there's a lot of those costumes now that I'm thinking about it. And I feel
also,
like
they're hot.
That's what I was gonna say. I feel like they're super uncomfortable. They don't look like they would be comfortable.
Yeah. Wearing black polyester pants on Main Street in July is really nobody's idea of fun.
But you know what? Which ones I was looking at pictures of cast member costumes because I in my head could for some reason not picture any of them. We missed one of my favorites, which has to be the Wilderness Explorer's costume.
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
I don't know if that feels like it shouldn't count because it's like straight from the movie, but I think that's why I like it.
I think it definitely counts.
I will say, as much of a defender of Chester and Hester's as I have been in the past, their costumes are also terrible.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad costumes at Animal Kingdom.
So what you're saying is we should just get rid of Chester and Hester's and start
No,
over.
no, I didn't say that, but that does seem like the direction that they're going.
I mean, honestly, if Primeval World isn't there, there's not really going to be much left of Chester and Hester's.
Yeah. Well, anything that you guys want to talk about before we wrap this up?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool. Well, I think that that's a good place to stop then if we're going to finish Superlatives out on another episode.